Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And to all my brothers out here preaching this truth to you, I say, Shalom. This is a Montazar from the Chicago camp coming back at you again with another lesson entitled The New Orleans 1866 Massacre. This is going to be massacre number 2 in my series. Okay. We kicked it off with the 1863 draft riots, okay, in New York. That's the first massacre in this series, which basically started with the draft during the Civil War in 1863. The Union, or the North, needed soldiers, and so they instituted a draft for the young Irishmen who came over as immigrants. Well, of course, they had a problem with it because they were already having a hard time finding work because the Jake in the North were highly skilled and being paid pennies. Okay, they were highly skilled. Jake knew how to do everything from all his years of slavery. All right, and Esau paid them what they wanted to pay them. They really couldn't negotiate anything, so they were being paid pennies, and so the Irish were being undercut. And so now they wanted to institute a draft. All right, and the Irish was like, I'm not fucking risking my life for these slaves. So they went crazy, right? They went crazy. They became very, very violent, which led to the New York Draft Riot Massacre of 1863. Okay. The Irish were always in direct competition with Jake. Okay. Because the Irish was at the bottom of the so-called social order. All right. So you can look at that lesson on this channel, the 1863 draft riots. And that leads us into the massacre number 2. All right, this is the 1866 New Orleans Massacre. So this is after the Civil War. All right, now see, this whole time that we're living in right now is a very scary time for Esau Edom because the truth is spreading. All right, Christianity is a joke. All right, and everybody is seeing it. The truth is spreading. All right. This gospel is being preached to the four corners of the earth, and Esau Edom is being exposed because now his biblical nationality is being brought out, just as our biblical nationality is being brought out. The two major stars in the Lord's movie is Jacob and Esau. Okay. Now he's that cruel man. He's that violent man. He's that vessel fitted for dishonor. All right. And Jacob is the vessel for honor. You find that out in Romans, the 9th chapter. All right. So the big thing that Esau wants to do right now is put a stop to any teachings about critical race theory in school or on the internet. All right. Anything dealing with the 1619 project, anything dealing with critical race theory, he calls it theory, but these are nothing but historical facts that he's ashamed of. Okay. So what he wants to do is try to group critical race theory and, you got DeSantis trying to label it hate speech, basically. All right. Um, but this is not hate speech. This is just historical facts and that they're ashamed of. All right. So anyway, after the Civil War, okay, you had the Reconstruction period. Now, the Reconstruction period was basically the South and the North trying to hammer out differences, all right, so that the South could unite with the North again and then become one nation again. But after slavery, the South, just like Esau and his pride, they instituted something called the Black Codes, which was nothing more than legalized oppression, all right, and it didn't really differ much from slavery, right? Because what the goal of the Black Codes was to force you to work for Esau, Edom for pennies, and if you didn't work for them, basically you were criminalized. All right, and they wrote it into law so you can be considered a vagrant and be locked up if you didn't work for Esau, Edom. All right, so what we're gonna do in this lesson, I'm gonna go ahead and show you. Gonna show you this little short on 1866, and then we're gonna get into the actual lesson. All right, so let me do this and make sure that the volume. All right, so after this video, I'm gonna show you a little bit about the violence of Esau, Edom, just in some simple road rage examples.
In the aftermath of the Civil War, black veterans returned home to a country that still viewed them as inferior. This was especially true in New Orleans, where racial tensions ran high. In 1866, a group of black veterans decided to organize a peaceful demonstration to demand equal rights. But their peaceful demonstration was met with extreme violence. White mobs, including police officers and former Confederate soldiers, attacked the black veterans, killing many and injuring hundreds more. Violence continued for 3 days, and it's estimated that as many as 300 people were killed. The New Orleans Massacre of 1866 was a brutal act of racial violence against black veterans who had bravely fought for their country. It's a tragedy that should never be forgotten.
Now, the unofficial death toll was over 300. The so-called official death toll was anywhere from 34 to 200. Okay, the official death toll is never consistent with the unofficial death toll. And then they will also tell you the unofficial death toll. So now we're going to look at a couple examples of the violence or the rage of Esau, Edom, and just some simple road rage incidents. One is a road rage incident, and then the other one, I don't know. I read something in the comments that this woman was angry because her so-called man was with someone else. But let's take a look. Imagine this being your daughters on the road.
Dude, seriously? I'm on I-15 heading southbound, and there is a man in a red Jetta. He's gonna crash into us. He's gonna crash into us. He's gonna, like, T-bone, like, or sorry, rear-end us. We're going southbound. We just exited. What exit did we just get off on? He's getting out of the car right now. Oh my gosh! He just punched our window. Like, he has complete, like, this is fine. Oh my god. It's a red Jetta. I'm shaking. He's like yelling at his girlfriend now. Like, no, there is no license plate on the front of his car. I'm shaking right now. I cannot believe this is happening. He's about to pass us, so we'll get his back plate. But he's like screaming at his girlfriend right now. Like, this is like insane. He just punched our window. He just punched our window, and like, he just like. Wow.
This broad just you see, this is the violent man. Okay, now this is over traffic incidents. This is, I don't know. Like I said, this one could have been over some jealousy. I don't know, but Esau, I've seen myself. Esau would take an ass whooping to spit on a so-called Jake. I done seen multiple videos, right, where Esau Edom the females, they quick to spit on you. All right, just so you know that. I seen female Edomites spit on Jake, knowing full well they was about to get their ass completely beat. All right, and they still would do it. They'll still try to spit on him and take the ass whoop, and then they'll scream and act like the victim. All right, but that's who they are. I just wanted to show that. So let's go ahead and get into this lesson. So here we have the New Orleans Massacre of 1866. All right. So why did all this start? What did the massacre? What was the reason or the cause of the massacre? It was because of voting rights. Okay, it's because of voting rights. On July 30th, 1866, a mob of ex-Confederates led an armed attack on a group of Louisiana Republicans and their African American supporters as they convened in the Mechanics Institute building in New Orleans. Okay, so let's see what they convened for. Republicans had called the convention to enfranchise African Americans and to draft a new state constitution. Angered by the effort, ex Confederate rioters, joined by public New Orleans police, first encircled the building, then stormed it, stabbing and shooting the convention delegates as they fled or jumped from windows in desperation. Official reports say that 38 were killed and 146 wounded. Congressional investigators described the events as a work of massacre, pursued with a cowardly ferocity unsurfaced in the annals of crime. The massacre in New Orleans, combined with similar violence in Memphis, Tennessee, and Norfolk, Virginia, underscored the failure of President Andrew Johnson's more conciliatory plan for Reconstruction and led to the empowerment of a group of Republicans dedicated to a more aggressive program in the South and ultimately led to the impeachment of Johnson by the U.S. House of Representatives. Johnson was a co-conspirator. He was allowing shit. All right, let's look at the rest of this information. All right, so now you know the cause. White Democrats, by and large, considered the convened convention illegal, as they said that the voters, then limited to whites only, had accepted the Constitution. White supremacy was a plank of their 1865 state platform. Resolved that we hold this to be a government of white people, made and to be perpetuated for the exclusive political benefit of the white race, and in accordance with the constant adjudication of the United States Supreme Court that the people of African descent cannot be considered as citizens of the United States, and that there can in no event, nor under any circumstances, be any equality between the white and other races. They opposed the goals articulated by Rufus King Cutler. Now, here's the goal, okay? This is why they did what they did, because they actually had the numbers. It says we have 30 to 35,000 Negro and colored voters in Louisiana, and about 28 to 30,000 white voters. We could have all the Negro men and the colored men to vote with the Union men, and that with the disenfranchisement of the leading rebels would give the ascendancy to the Unionists. And I think they could sustain themselves with sufficient military force to enforce these provisions and could establish a government that would be substantial, and we could sustain it after its establishment. So there you go. All right. That's your how and why. But let's see what the Lord has to say, because in reality, this is not our rest. And the children of Israel was never supposed to set anyone over them that was not an Israelite. So, in other words, the Lord commanded us not to set heathens over us. All right. So, this is all part of the punishment that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai had in place for the Israelites. Okay. Because we're not supposed to set anyone above us. This is Deuteronomy 17 and 14. And this is why we don't vote. It says, when thou art come unto the land which Yahweh thy power giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom Yahweh thy power shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. Okay? Point blank, period. That's what it is. All right? So, as I said, this was a result of these so-called black codes. All right? So, basically, Jake was, they was beaten down, they was tired. All right? And they was trying to get their revolution. But remember, Jake was discontinued from his heritage, so he didn't even know who he is. All right? But these devils was writing all this oppression. This is Psalms 94:20. It says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law? Esau Edom has always framed mischief by law. That's why King David said, I will not sit with the wicked. Okay? Black codes. It says black codes were restrictive laws designed to limit the freedom of African Americans and ensure their availability as a cheap labor force after slavery was abolished during the Civil War. Though the Union victory had given some 4 million enslaved people their freedom, the question of free black people's status in the post-war South was still very unresolved. Under black codes, many states require black people to sign yearly labor contracts. If they refuse, they risk being arrested, fined, and forced into unpaid labor. Outrage over the black codes helped undermine the support of President Andrew Johnson and the Republican Party. You see that? This is Deuteronomy 28:45. Again, we are the Israelites, all right? And all of these things that happen unto us are part of the curses, okay? Deuteronomy 28:45, and it reads, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed. Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign, talking about these curses, and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not Yahweh thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger, in thirst, in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. All right? It's safe to say, all right, that no nation under the heaven, all right, has dealt with these type of atrocities. But the Lord has promised us, okay? Isaiah 55 says that the Lord's word doesn't go out and come back void. It will accomplish, right, what he purposed it to do. This is Isaiah 51:22. It says, thus saith Yahweh. It says, and thy power that pleaded the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thine hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again, but I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy body as the ground and as the street to them that went over. Oh shit, that's where you get the saying, they walk all over you. Okay? They walked all over us. This scripture right here tells you they walked all over us literally. We was for their benefit. I'm going to pay you what I want to pay you. If you don't like it, starve to death. And that's exactly what happened. And then Esau promised to pay and then wouldn't pay. So you had a lot of people during that Reconstruction period, all right, with the enforcement of those black codes that actually died of starvation. because they never got their food. This is Malachi 4:1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, said Yahweh of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. And he shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall, and ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the sole of your feet in the day that I shall do this, said the Lord of hosts, Yahweh of hosts. The Lord says that the wicked are going to be ashes under our feet. That sounds exactly like the God of Christianity, who's all love. And in closing, this is Psalm 71:4, and then 10-13. Deliver me, O my power, out of the hand of the wicked, out of the hand of the unrighteous and cruel man. For mine enemies speak against me, and they that lay wait for my soul take counsel together, saying, the Most High hath forsaken him. Persecute and take him, for there is none to deliver him. O power, be not far from me. O my power, make haste for my help. Let them be confounded and consumed that are adversaries to my soul. Let them be covered with reproach and dishonor that seek my hurt. I pray that this lesson has been edifying. Until the next one, Shalom.